Break now, or we all die. Staff Sergeant Isaiah Brooks never remembers deciding to shout the words. 1 second, he is sitting beneath the canvas cover of a moving military truck, one gloved hand resting near the restraint harness of the white German Shepherd beside him. The next, Halo is airborne. 6 years of discipline vanish in a flash of pale fur as the K-9 launches through the open rear gate and disappears into the rain. Isaiah reaches for him. His fingers catch nothing but wet air. The truck is moving nearly 35 miles per hour along a narrow mountain road, its tires hissing over black pavement slick with November rain. Pine trees rise on both sides like silent walls. Fog hangs low across the ridgeline. Ahead, the convoy bends around a blind curve, red taillights trembling through the gray. Halo. Isaiah's voice tears through the engine noise. Corporal Danny Mercer looks into the mirror, his young face tightening when he sees the empty space beside Isaiah. Sergeant, what happened? Isaiah does not answer. He sees Halo hit the muddy shoulder, roll once, then rise with impossible speed. The dog does not run after the truck. He runs toward the center of the road, toward the vehicles behind them. His white coat turns silver beneath the rain, bright against the dark earth, like something heaven sent into the wrong place at exactly the right time. Isaiah knows this dog. Halo does not panic. He does not chase tires. He does not abandon a moving vehicle. Not once in 6 years. Not under gunfire simulations. Not during helicopter drills. Not when thunder rattled the kennels at Camp Pendleton. If Halo has broken command, then the command is no longer safe. Isaiah slams his palm against the metal cab. Brake. Danny hesitates for half a heartbeat. Military convoys do not stop on narrow roads without confirmation. Half a heartbeat is all Halo has. The dog plants himself behind the truck, shoulders squared, amber eyes locked on Isaiah through the rain. Then he barks once. Not fear, not confusion, a warning. Isaiah sees it in the stillness after the sound. The same stillness Halo carries before he finds something hidden beneath dirt, concrete, or steel. Stop. The truck, Corporal. Danny drives both boots into the brake pedal. The tires lose their grip. The truck slides sideways, heavy and slow, its rear end drifting toward the shoulder. Crates groan against their straps. Isaiah grabs the frame with one hand and reaches instinctively toward the space where Halo should be with the other. The lead vehicle continues around the curve. Its brake lights flare. A radio crackles near Danny's shoulder, voices overlapping in bursts of static. Captain Hayes demands to know why the convoy is stopping. Danny tries to answer, but the road speaks first. A deep sound rolls beneath the mountain. Not sharp, not immediate. A low, buried thump that seems to come from inside the earth itself. The pavement 80 feet ahead rises as if the mountain has taken a sudden breath. Dirt, rainwater, and broken asphalt lift into the air in a dark curtain. A wave of pressure strikes the truck and rocks it against its suspension. The windshield turns white with mist and dust. Pine needles fall from the branches overhead. Somewhere beyond the curve, metal groans. Then everything becomes strangely quiet. No screaming. No chaos. Only the tick of the engine, the soft patter of rain on canvas, and Isaiah's own heartbeat beating too hard against his ribs. Danny grips the wheel with both hands. What was that? Isaiah is already moving. He releases his safety strap and steps down from the truck before it has fully settled. His boots strike wet pavement. Cold rain hits his face. The road ahead is gone beneath a cloud of dust and drifting fog, but Isaiah does not look toward the blast. He looks behind them. Halo is no longer standing in the road. The muddy shoulder is empty. The ditch below it is filled with tall grass bending under the rain. Isaiah scans the tree line, the drainage channel, the slope leading down into the pines. Nothing white moves anywhere. Captain Hayes calls through the radio, asking for a status report. Danny answers with a shaking voice, but Isaiah barely hears him. His eyes find a single mark in the mud near the edge of the shoulder. A paw print. Then another. They lead downhill and vanish beneath the brush. Isaiah touches the old dog. Tags beneath his jacket, feeling the cold metal through the fabric. For years, he has trusted orders because orders do not carry memories. He has trusted procedures because procedures do not wake him at night. But Halo has just broken every rule he was trained to obey, and somewhere below the road, the dog who saved an entire convoy is alone. Isaiah steps toward the ditch. Rainwater runs around his boots. Behind him, the mountain road continues to crumble in small, quiet pieces. He keys his radio and says, "The convoy holds here." Nobody moves forward. Then he lowers his hand, looks into the fog, and calls the name that has carried him through 6 years of silence. "Halo, I'm coming." For hours earlier, Halo had been lying beneath a steel work table at Camp Pendleton, his white coat almost glowing in the pale morning light that spilled through the open motor pool doors. He looked peaceful from a distance, chin resting on his front paws, amber eyes half closed while Marines moved around him with clipboards, fuel cans, and weatherproof cases. But Staff Sergeant Isaiah Brooks knew the difference between rest and watchfulness. Halo was not sleeping. His ears shifted toward every engine start, every closing latch, every boot step crossing the concrete floor. He was listening to the whole base wake up. Isaiah stood beside the third truck in the convoy, checking a cargo manifest with the calm precision that had become part of his reputation. At 36, he carried himself with the steady posture of a man who had learned how to hide exhaustion inside discipline. His dark brown skin held the cool gray reflection of the overcast sky, and a faint scar near his right temple disappeared beneath the edge of his field cap. Younger Marines saw confidence when they looked at him. Halo saw what lived underneath. The sleepless nights, the quiet pauses, the way Isaiah touched the dog tags beneath his shirt whenever a mission began. Corporal Danny Mercer approached with 2 cups of coffee and handed one over. Danny was 24, lean, eager, and still new enough to believe every assignment had a clear beginning and a clean ending. "Weather report says the rain reaches the mountains before noon," he said. Isaiah took the cup but did not drink. "Then we keep the spacing tight and the radio's clear." Danny nodded toward Halo. "He coming with us?" Isaiah glanced beneath the table. "He goes where I go." Halo lifted his head at the sound of Isaiah's voice. He had been partnered with him for 6 years, through field exercises, recovery operations, crowded airports, and long stretches of silence that no person had known how to enter. He was trained to detect explosive compounds, locate hidden hazards, and hold position under pressure. More than that, he was known across the unit for something harder to teach. Halo never broke command. Not once. During a training drill in Arizona, a flash charge had gone off less than 20 feet away, but Halo had remained flat until Isaiah released him. During a helicopter exercise, wind had whipped dust into his eyes and lifted the edge of his harness, yet he had waited for the hand signal. Even when another dog panicked during thunder at the kennels, Halo stayed beside the gate and watched Isaiah until the storm passed. He was not fearless. He was faithful. Captain Rebecca Hayes entered the motor pool with a tablet tucked beneath one arm. She was 41, direct, composed, and respected for making decisions before uncertainty could spread through a team. "Departure in 20 minutes, she said. 3 vehicles. Supply transfer to the mountain communications station, then straight back before dark." Isaiah scanned the route on her tablet. A narrow service road cut through 12 miles of pine forest before climbing along the ridge. "Any road closures?" he asked. None reported. "Maintenance crews. One team finished drainage work yesterday." Halo rose without being called. His movement was slow and deliberate. He walked past Isaiah, past Danny, and stopped beside the rear tire of the third truck. His nose lowered to the wet tread. He inhaled once, then again. Isaiah watched him. "Halo." The dog did not look up. He followed a streak of dried mud along the wheel well, then moved beneath the frame where rainwater dripped from the metal. Danny crouched nearby. "He smell fuel." Isaiah set down his coffee. "Fuel gets a different response." Halo backed out and crossed toward the front tire. His body remained loose, but his tail had gone still. Isaiah clipped the lead to his harness and gave a gentle pull. "Leave it." Halo obeyed. He stepped back immediately, sat at Isaiah's left side, and looked toward the open gate of the motor pool. A road maintenance worker stood there wearing an orange rain jacket over faded coveralls. He carried a toolbox in one hand and spoke briefly with a base mechanic before turning away. Halo's ears angled forward. The worker paused beside the convoy's second vehicle and wiped one muddy glove against his jacket. Then he continued toward a white utility van parked outside the fence. Halo followed him with his eyes until the van disappeared. Isaiah felt the lead tighten slightly in his hand. Not enough to resist, just enough to speak. "What is it?" he murmured. Halo lowered his nose toward the pavement. A small clump of dark mud had fallen near the tire. The dog leaned closer, inhaled, then looked up at Isaiah. There was no trained alert. No sit. No paw signal. Only a long, quiet stare. Captain Hayes called for final checks. Engines started one by one, filling the motor pool with low vibration and the scent of diesel. Isaiah studied the mud for another second, then guided Halo toward the truck. Procedures said there was nothing to report. No visible hazard. No confirmed signal. Nothing but a dog standing unusually still on a wet morning. Halo climbed into the rear compartment and settled beside Isaiah, but he did not rest his head on his paws. He kept watching the gate long after it had vanished behind them. The convoy had been on the road for 30 minutes when the first drops of rain began to strike the canvas roof. They came softly at first, scattered and uncertain, then settled into a steady rhythm above Isaiah and Halo. The truck swayed along the coastal highway before turning inland, where the land rose toward the mountains and the air grew colder. Danny drove with both hands high on the wheel. Isaiah sat in the rear compartment beside Halo, one boot braced against a cargo crate, his gaze fixed on the narrow strip of road, visible through the open gate. Halo remained upright. His body moved with every turn, balanced without effort, but his eyes never left the pavement behind them. Isaiah reached down and rested 2 fingers against the dog's harness. "Easy," he said. Halo looked at him, then returned his attention to the road. That silence pulled at a memory Isaiah had spent years trying not to touch. It began with another road, another vehicle, and another man who had noticed something no instrument could confirm. Gunnery Sergeant Malcolm Reed had been 42 then, a broad-shouldered Marine from Georgia with a patient voice and a habit of carrying peppermints in the front pocket of his uniform. He had trained Isaiah when Isaiah was still young enough to believe courage meant never hesitating. Malcolm taught him otherwise. Courage, he said, was knowing when hesitation was trying to save your life. On their last assignment together, Malcolm had gone quiet inside a transport vehicle much like this one. The radio had been busy. The schedule had been tight. Officers wanted the team at the checkpoint before sundown. But Malcolm kept watching the roadside through a scratched window, his jaw set, one hand resting near the door latch. Isaiah had asked what he saw. Malcolm had answered, "Nothing. That is what bothers me." The fields outside had been too still. No farm trucks. No children near the houses. No birds lifting from the fence posts. Isaiah remembered dismissing it as nerves. He remembered saying the route had already been checked. He remembered trusting the map because the map was official, while Malcolm's warning was only a feeling. Before the convoy reached the next bend, Malcolm told the driver to slow down. The order never came from command, so the driver kept moving. What followed lived in Isaiah not as a picture, but as a collection of small things. A burst of static, dust across the glass, the taste of metal in his mouth, Malcolm's peppermint rolling beneath a seat. No one blamed Isaiah afterward. The report said the route had changed faster than intelligence could respond. The officers called it unavoidable. Malcolm's family thanked Isaiah for bringing home his personal effects. His mother placed both hands around Isaiah's and told him her son had trusted him. That kindness became heavier than accusation. Since then, Isaiah had built his life around procedures. Procedures did not whisper. Procedures did not look at him with disappointment. They either worked or failed, and when they failed, the blame belonged to paper, weather, timing, or chance. Halo entered his life 8 months later. The white German shepherd had been younger then, narrow through the chest, with paws that seemed too large for his body. During their first week together, Halo refused to cross a metal training bridge. Every command was correct. Every safety inspection had been completed. Isaiah had pulled gently on the lead, embarrassed by the watching instructors. Halo would not move. Then a loose support bolt dropped from beneath the platform and struck the concrete below. The bridge had not been dangerous enough to collapse, but Halo had heard what no one else had heard. Isaiah remembered Malcolm's voice that evening. When the world gets loud, trust the one who goes quiet. The truck hit a shallow rut, bringing Isaiah back to the present. Halo shifted closer and pressed his shoulder against Isaiah's knee. Beneath the engine noise, the dog released a slow breath. Isaiah rubbed the fur behind his left ear, where a thin scar interrupted the white coat. "You have something to tell me?" he asked. Halo lifted his eyes. For one brief second, Isaiah saw the same calm warning Malcolm had carried years ago. It was not fear. It was patience waiting to be believed. Isaiah reached beneath his field jacket and drew out the 2 dog tags hanging against his chest. One belonged to him. The other was older, its edges worn smooth by years of being held between his fingers. Malcolm read. Isaiah closed his hand around the metal. Through the gate, the base road had disappeared behind a curtain of rain, and the convoy began climbing toward the dark line of mountains. Halo turned his head toward the second vehicle ahead of them. His ears rose. His body became perfectly still. Isaiah followed his gaze, but all he saw was wet pavement, red taillights, and mist curling beneath the tires. Nothing unusual. Nothing he could report. Nothing except the dog beside him, listening to something the rest of, The road narrowed as the convoy climbed into the mountains, trading open fields for dense walls of pine and dark stone. Rain moved sideways across the windshield of the third truck, driven by wind that rushed down the slopes in cold, uneven bursts. The temperature had fallen nearly 15 degrees since they left Camp Pendleton, and the air inside the rear compartment carried the mixed smell of wet canvas, diesel fuel, and damp earth. Isaiah sat beside Halo with one hand resting loosely on the lead. He did not pull it tight. He had learned that tension traveled both ways. Ahead, the second vehicle rounded a curve and vanished for a moment behind a curtain of fog. Its red taillights returned several seconds later, dim and blurred, like 2 small coals moving through smoke. Danny reduced speed to 25 miles per hour. Visibility is getting worse, he called back. Isaiah leaned toward the opening. The mountain road had no shoulder on the right side, only a steep drop softened by brush and young fir trees. On the left, water ran down the rock face in silver streams and spilled across the pavement. Keep 8 vehicle lengths, Isaiah said. No closer. Danny nodded and adjusted their distance. The radio near the dashboard crackled. Captain Hayes asked for a communications check. The lead vehicle answered clearly. The second vehicle came through with heavy static. Danny pressed his transmit button. Third vehicle, receiving. His own voice returned in a broken echo, then disappeared beneath a hiss. Halo rose. His paws planted wide against the metal floor as the truck moved through another bend. He lifted his nose and drew in a long breath. Isaiah watched the dog's chest expand. Halo turned toward the road ahead, then toward the mountainside. His ears moved separately, searching through the layered noise of rain, engine vibration, and tires cutting through shallow water. Isaiah followed his gaze. Nothing moved among the trees. No deer. No maintenance crew. No civilian traffic. The absence felt larger than silence. A flock of blackbirds suddenly lifted from the pines farther up the slope. They rose all at once, circling tightly before scattering away from the road. Halo's body tightened. Isaiah felt the change through the lead. You see that? Danny asked. Birds. They looked spooked. Isaiah did not answer. He remembered Malcolm watching an empty roadside years before. Nothing. That is what bothers me. The convoy continued. Half a mile later, Isaiah noticed a strip of mud spread across the pavement near a drainage channel. It was darker than the surrounding soil, almost black beneath the rain, and too smooth to have washed down naturally. Fresh tire marks crossed it at an angle, but they did not match the wide tread pattern of the military vehicles. The marks came from the narrow service lane above the road, where maintenance trucks sometimes parked. Isaiah leaned forward and tapped the cab. Slow down. Danny eased off the accelerator. The second vehicle pulled farther ahead. What do you have? Not sure yet. Isaiah looked back at Halo. The dog had lowered his head toward the floor, nose working rapidly. A faint smell reached Isaiah through the rain and diesel. Burned metal. Weak, but distinct. It reminded him of an overheated power tool or a wire stripped too close to its core. Do you smell that? He asked. Danny inhaled. Mostly exhaust. Isaiah keyed the radio. Captain Hayes, third vehicle. Request reduced convoy speed. Possible roadwork residue near the drainage cut. Static swallowed the first part of her reply. Then her voice cleared. Do you have a confirmed hazard? Isaiah looked at Halo. The dog had not given his trained alert. Negative confirmation. Maintain formation. We are 10 miles from the station. The channel went quiet. Halo moved to the rear opening and looked down at the road they had just crossed. His tail remained level and motionless. Isaiah followed the fresh tire marks with his eyes until rain erased them. A quarter-mile farther on, they passed a yellow warning sign beside the road. The metal post leaned toward the ditch. The sign itself faced the wrong direction, turned away from approaching traffic. Isaiah caught only a glimpse of the black lettering as they moved past. Road work ahead. He looked behind them. There had been no road crew. No cones. No equipment. Nothing except the small clump of black mud near the tire at the base and the smell of something scorched beneath the rain. Danny, stop at the next safe pullout. There is not one for at least 2 miles. Then slow to 15. Danny glanced into the mirror. Captain Hayes said maintain formation. Isaiah's hand closed around Malcolm's old dog tag. Halo looked at him. The dog's eyes did not ask for permission. They waited for belief. Isaiah pressed the radio button again. Lead vehicle, this is Staff Sergeant Brooks. I am requesting a halt. The answer came through in fragments. State reason. Halo suddenly turned toward the floor and scratched the metal once. Then twice. Then a third time. Isaiah felt the sound in his chest before he understood it. 3 scratches. The private signal Halo had used during Isaiah's worst nights, when memories closed around him and words became too heavy. Stay with me. Listen now. The road ahead curved beneath a low ridge of stone. Beyond it, the fog thickened until the second vehicle nearly disappeared. Isaiah stared at the dog beside him and realized Halo was not asking to be calmed. He was trying to calm Isaiah long enough to make him see. Isaiah did not answer the radio immediately. Halo scratched the floor a 4th time, slower now, then pressed his shoulder against Isaiah's leg. The dog's breathing remained steady, but every muscle beneath his white coat held a quiet tension. Isaiah looked through the open gate at the second vehicle ahead. Its taillights flickered in and out of the fog as the road climbed beneath a shelf of dark rock. Rainwater streamed along the pavement in thin, silver lines. Nothing moved on the shoulder. Nothing waited in the trees. Still, the air felt wrong. Captain Hayes, Isaiah said into the radio, my K9 is showing an unconfirmed behavioral warning. I recommend we reduce speed and stop at the first safe location. Static answered first. Then her voice returned. Behavioral warning is not a confirmed alert, Staff Sergeant. Understood. Can Halo identify a source? Isaiah glanced down. Halo had turned toward the front of the truck, nose lifted, eyes fixed beyond the cab. Not yet. Then maintain formation. We cannot stop 3 vehicles on a blind mountain curve. The transmission ended. Danny watched Isaiah in the mirror. What do you want me to do? Isaiah felt the old conflict rise inside him. Orders on one side. Instinct on the other. Years ago, he had chosen the voice that carried rank and certainty. He had lived with the cost ever since. Now Halo stood beside him, silent in the same way Malcolm had once been silent. Isaiah reached forward and tapped the cab twice. Dropped to 15 miles per hour. Danny hesitated. That will open the distance. Let it. The engine softened as Danny eased off the accelerator. The second vehicle moved farther ahead until its lights became faint red smudges in the fog. Halo stepped closer to the opening. Isaiah shortened the lead but kept it loose enough for the dog to work. Search, he said quietly. Halo lowered his nose. He drew in the wet mountain air, turned toward the rock wall, then toward the road. A few seconds later, his head snapped back toward the front. The change was small, but Isaiah saw it. Halo had found the scent again. There, Isaiah whispered. Danny glanced at him. There what? Same reaction as the motor pool. The truck passed another drainage channel. Fresh mud covered the edge of the pavement, darker than the soil above it. A broken orange survey flag lay in the ditch, its fabric twisted around a wet branch. Isaiah searched the road for the maintenance crew that should have placed it. There were no trucks, no cones, no reflective vests, just rain, fog, and a mountain holding its breath. Halo moved one step forward. The lead tightened. Isaiah gave a low command. Hold. Halo stopped, but his eyes remained locked ahead. A sharp burst of static came through the radio, followed by Captain Hayes speaking to the lead driver. Isaiah caught only fragments. Road condition. Reduced visibility. Continue to station. Then the signal dropped away. Danny leaned closer to the windshield. I can barely see the second vehicle. Isaiah looked toward the rear. The final curve had hidden the road. Behind them, they were alone inside a narrow tunnel of fog. Halo suddenly placed one paw against Isaiah's boot. It was another private signal, one he used when Isaiah's breathing changed during difficult nights. Ground yourself. Pay attention. Isaiah knelt beside him. Show me. Halo turned his head toward the truck's front left corner. Isaiah followed his gaze and noticed a faint line across the wet pavement ahead. At first, it looked like a crack filled with rainwater. Then the truck moved closer, and the line caught a brief flash of light. Not water. Something thinner. Something stretched from the roadside brush toward the drainage cut. Isaiah's heartbeat slowed instead of racing. Training took over. Danny, hold this speed. Do not cross that line until I confirm. Danny leaned forward. What line? 10 yards ahead. Left side to the ditch. Danny squinted through the rain. I do not see it. Halo did. His body lowered. His ears flattened, not from fear, but focus. Isaiah reached for the radio. All vehicles, third truck. Possible obstruction across the roadway. Request immediate halt. The lead vehicle answered through heavy static. Repeat. Isaiah pressed the button again. Possible obstruction. Halt the convoy. The second vehicle's brake lights flashed briefly, then disappeared behind a curve. For one hopeful moment, Isaiah thought Captain Hayes had heard him. Then the lights moved again. The convoy continued. Halo released a low sound from deep in his chest. Not a bark. A warning he was struggling to keep contained. Isaiah felt the restraint clip vibrate in his hand. He checked the metal latch. It was secure, but the webbing near Halo's shoulder had begun to fray where years of use had softened the edge. Stay with me, Isaiah said. The road tilted downward for several feet before rising into the next bend. The truck gained speed despite Danny's foot on the brake. Sergeant, we are sliding. Keep it straight. Halo looked toward Isaiah. Rain clung to the white fur around his eyes. For 1 second, the noise of the truck, the storm, and the radio seemed to fade. There was only the dog's steady gaze and the memory of Malcolm's voice. Trust the one who goes quiet. Isaiah wrapped one hand around the lead. I hear you, he whispered. Halo turned toward the open gate. The frayed strap pulled tight. Isaiah saw the dog shift his weight forward and realized, one heartbeat too late, that Halo was no lawn. Halo moved before Isaiah could tighten his grip. The white German shepherd drove forward with a force that came from decision, not panic. The worn restraint strap snapped against the metal edge of the bench, and the weakened fibers gave way with a soft tearing sound that Isaiah felt more than heard. His hand closed around the loose end. Halo was already at the rear gate. Halo, hold. The command cut through the rain and engine noise. For the first time in 6 years, the dog did not obey. He turned his head and looked back at Isaiah. His amber eyes were steady. No fear. No confusion. Only urgency held inside perfect control. Then he jumped. His pale body vanished beyond the gate, swallowed by fog and rain. Isaiah lunged after him, catching the steel frame before his weight carried him out of the moving truck. Danny, stop. Danny looked into the mirror. The road is too slick. Stop this truck now. Danny pressed the brake pedal carefully, but the heavy vehicle continued down the wet grade. Its rear wheels shifted several inches toward the edge before finding traction again. Isaiah twisted around, searching the road behind them. Halo had landed on the muddy shoulder and rolled once through the grass. For one terrible second, he remained low. Then he rose. He shook the rain from his face and ran back toward the center of the road. Not toward Isaiah, not toward safety, toward the vehicles coming behind them. Isaiah understood. Halo was not trying to escape. He was trying to stop the convoy. Brake lights, Isaiah said. Give them everything. Danny switched on the emergency flashers and pressed the brake pedal harder. Red light pulsed through the fog. The truck slowed from 20 miles per hour to 15, then 10. Tires hissed over standing water. Cargo straps tightened behind Isaiah. A metal case shifted half an inch and settled. Halo planted himself in the lane, white against black pavement, and faced the truck. His chest rose and fell beneath the rain. He barked once. The sound carried through the narrow mountain pass with a clarity that silenced every doubt Isaiah had left. Danny saw him. He is in the road. He wants us stopped. Why? Isaiah looked past Halo toward the bend ahead. The thin line across the pavement was gone now, hidden beneath water and distance. But Halo had seen it. Halo had smelled what waited beyond it. Because we are missing something. Danny guided the truck toward the inside edge of the road where the pavement was flatter. The speedometer fell below 5 miles per hour. Isaiah keyed the radio. All vehicles, emergency stop. Do not advance. Repeat, do not advance. Static filled the cab. A broken voice answered from the lead vehicle, but the words dissolved beneath interference. The second vehicle appeared briefly through the fog behind them, closer than Isaiah expected. Its lights flashed as the driver began slowing. Halo turned toward it and barked again. Then he ran to the shoulder, giving the truck room to stop. Isaiah jumped down the moment the wheels stopped moving. His boots splashed into cold water. Stay with the vehicle, he told Danny. Sergeant, where are you going? To bring him back. Isaiah took 3 steps toward Halo. The dog stood nearly 50 feet behind the truck, watching the road ahead instead of his handler. His head tilted slightly, as though listening through the mountain itself. Rain streamed from his ears and along the narrow scar behind the left one. Isaiah lifted one hand. Halo, here. The dog looked at him, but did not move. A low vibration passed beneath Isaiah's boots. It was so faint he might have mistaken it for the truck's engine, except the engine was idling behind him and the tremor came from farther up the road. Halo lowered his body. Isaiah stopped. The pine trees along the slope seemed to hold still. Rain continued falling, yet the world became strangely quiet around it. A deep sound rolled from beyond the curve. Not thunder. Thunder traveled through the sky. This came through the ground. Down, Isaiah called. He lowered himself beside the truck as the road ahead lifted in a sudden wave of dark water, soil, and broken pavement. The blast was mostly hidden by the curve, but the pressure reached them a moment later, pushing fog through the trees and rocking the truck on its suspension. Mud struck the windshield in soft, heavy drops. Loose stones scattered across the pavement. Birds rose from the forest in a wide black circle. Then silence returned. Isaiah lifted his head. The section of road they would have reached within seconds had disappeared beneath dust and rain. Danny sat frozen behind the wheel, both hands still gripping it. The second vehicle had stopped safely behind Halo. Captain Hayes stepped out, staring past Isaiah toward the cloud hanging over the bend. No one spoke. They did not need to. Halo had broken command, crossed a moving road, and forced 3 military vehicles to stop before the mountain opened in front of them. Isaiah turned toward the place where the dog had been standing. The lane was empty. White fur did not shine through the fog. Only paw prints crossed the muddy shoulder, leading toward a steep drainage ditch below the road. Halo, Isaiah called. No answer came. He moved to the edge and saw crushed grass, loose earth, and a narrow trail descending into the pines. The explosion had spared the convoy, but the dog who had warned them was no longer in sight. Isaiah pulled Malcolm's old dog tag from beneath his jacket and closed his fist around it. For years, he had feared the moment when instinct would ask him to choose again. Now the choice had already been made for him. He stepped into the ditch, boots sliding through wet leaves, and followed the white hairs caught on a low branch into the fog. The slope below the road was steeper than it had looked from above. Isaiah moved sideways through wet brush, one hand gripping young pine trunks while his boots searched for solid ground beneath leaves and loose stone. Rainwater ran through the ditch in narrow streams, carrying needles, mud, and pieces of bark toward the valley below. The fog thickened between the trees until the convoy disappeared behind him. He could still hear voices on the road, distant and broken by static, but he did not turn back. Halo. His call traveled. Only a few yards before the forest swallowed it. Isaiah followed the small signs the dog had left behind. A white hair on a branch. A deep paw mark pressed into soft earth. A trail through flattened ferns. 20 feet down the slope, the ground leveled beside a concrete drainage channel. Isaiah stopped and listened. At first there was only rain tapping leaves and water whispering through the culvert. Then he heard a low breath from beneath a fallen limb. Halo lay in the grass with one front leg drawn close to his chest. Mud darkened the white fur along his side, and pine needles clung to his harness, but his eyes were open and alert. Isaiah dropped to one knee. Easy, partner. I found you. Halo lifted his head and touched his nose to Isaiah's wrist. Relief moved through Isaiah so quickly that it left him weak for a moment. He placed one hand along the dog's shoulder, checking gently for anything that felt wrong. Halo did not pull away. His breathing was steady. The leg appeared strained, not broken, and there were no signs of a serious injury. You scared 10 years off my life? Isaiah whispered. Halo gave a quiet breath that almost sounded like an answer. Isaiah unclipped the torn restraint strap from the harness and slid one arm beneath the dog's chest. We are going back up. Halo tried to stand before Isaiah could lift him. His injured paw touched the ground, then rose again. He remained upright on 3 legs, stubborn and focused. Isaiah shook his head. Not this time. You have done enough. Halo looked past him toward the road. His ears rose. The calm in his face disappeared. A low growl formed in his chest. Isaiah followed the dog's gaze uphill. Through the trees, he could see the underside of the second military vehicle where it had stopped behind Danny's truck. Water dripped from its frame. Nothing moved near it. Halo. The dog took one uneven step toward the slope. Leave it. Halo ignored the command, not with wildness, but with the same deliberate refusal that had brought the convoy to a stop. He lowered his nose to the runoff flowing through the drainage channel. The water carried a faint rainbow sheen where it passed beneath a patch of black mud. Halo inhaled, then moved upstream. Isaiah caught the harness. What do you have? Halo pulled toward the culvert opening beneath the road. The smell reached Isaiah a second later. Burned metal. The same thin scent from the motor pool. Stronger now. Mixed with wet soil and diesel. Isaiah felt the relief leave his body. He keyed his radio. Captain Hayes, this is Brooks. I have located Halo. Minor leg injury. He is showing continued interest near the drainage line beneath the second vehicle. Her reply came through clearly enough. Understood. We are securing the road. Do not move vehicle 2. A pause followed. State your reason. Isaiah watched Halo trace the water with his nose. Same odor from the base. Possible hazard traveled with us. Captain Hayes did not question him this time. All personnel clear vehicle 2. Move uphill and maintain distance. Her voice changed immediately, becoming sharper as she repeated the order to the rest of the convoy. Doors opened above. Boots struck pavement. Marines moved away from the second truck in controlled silence. Isaiah guided Halo along the channel until they reached the base of the embankment. The dog stopped beneath a gap in the roadside barrier and stared upward. Isaiah could see the lower frame of vehicle 2 through wet grass. A line of dark mud clung beneath it, too thick and evenly spread to have gathered from ordinary travel. Halo sat despite the discomfort in his leg. It was his trained alert. Clear. Final. Isaiah pressed the radio button. Confirmed behavior. Source appears to be beneath the second vehicle. Captain Hayes answered at once. Copy. Everyone remains clear. Emergency response is being requested. Halo did not relax. His growl returned. Softer now. Aim not at the truck but toward the road behind it. Isaiah looked through the fog and saw the third set of tire tracks ending near the stopped vehicle. Rain had begun washing the mud away, revealing a narrow strip of unfamiliar material fixed along the lower frame. Whatever had endangered them had not been waiting only beneath the mountain road. It had left the base with them. Isaiah felt Malcolm's dog tag against his chest, cold beneath his wet uniform. Years earlier, he had believed a danger was real only when a person could name it. Halo had taught him otherwise twice in one morning. Isaiah crouched beside the dog and rested a hand against his neck. You knew before we left, he said. Halo kept watching the truck. Above them, Captain Hayes ordered the convoy farther back. Danny appeared at the edge of the ditch, his face pale beneath the rain. Sergeant, what is happening? Isaiah looked from the dark mud beneath vehicle 2 to the white dog standing on 3 legs beside him. The road was not the only warning, he said. Something came with us. Captain Hayes moved the convoy personnel nearly 200 feet uphill, using the rock wall as cover from the exposed stretch of road. No one ran. No one raised a voice. Boots moved through rainwater with controlled speed, while radios passed short, clear instructions from one person to the next. Isaiah stayed beside Halo at the edge of the drainage channel. The white German shepherd continued staring at the second vehicle as if the rest of the mountain had disappeared. His injured front paw hovered just above the ground, but he refused to lie down. You have made your point, Isaiah said softly. Now let me carry the weight. Halo glanced at him, then returned his attention to the truck. Danny crouched several feet away, breathing hard from the climb down the embankment. Emergency response says 20 minutes, he said. Isaiah looked toward the narrow road, the fog, and the unstable slope beyond the damaged curve. We may not have 20. Danny swallowed. You think it is active? I think Halo does. That answer was enough. Isaiah keyed his radio. Captain Hayes, recommend full evacuation beyond the previous bend. Leave all vehicles in place. No electronics near Vehicle 2 unless required. Understood, she replied. What about you? Isaiah looked at Halo. We are coming up now. He slipped one arm beneath the dog's chest and another beneath his body. Halo resisted at first, placing his good paws against the wet ground. Not a request, Isaiah murmured. The dog finally allowed himself to be lifted. He was heavier than Isaiah remembered, not because of his weight, but because trust always felt heavier when it was placed completely in your arms. Isaiah climbed the slope slowly, choosing each foothold before shifting upward. Danny stayed behind him, one hand near Isaiah's back without touching, ready if the mud gave way. Rain struck the leaves above them and fell in cold drops from branch to branch. Halfway up, Halo turned his head toward the second vehicle and released a low warning. Isaiah stopped. Through the fog, the truck looked ordinary. Dark green paint, canvas cover, water running from the wheel wells. Then a small amber light beneath the rear frame blinked once. Danny saw it too. Sergeant, I see it. The light vanished. 5 seconds passed. It blinked again. Slow. Regular. Isaiah felt every sound around him separate into clear pieces. Rain. Radio static. Halo's breathing. His own pulse. Captain Hayes, he said, keeping his voice level. Visual indicator beneath Vehicle 2. Intermittent amber light. Possible time device or maintenance signal. Cannot confirm. Her response came immediately. All personnel increase distance. Move now. Isaiah resumed climbing. Halo remained rigid in his arms, eyes fixed on the road below. They reached the pavement, and Navy Corpsman Elena Torres hurried toward them with a medical bag. Set him down here, she said. Isaiah lowered Halo onto a folded rain cover beside the rock wall. Elena examined the raised paw with gentle hands, checking movement, temperature, and response. Likely a strain, she said. He needs rest. Halo tried to rise. Elena placed a hand against his shoulder. Apparently, he disagrees. Isaiah almost smiled, but the moment did not allow it. Down the road, the amber light blinked again beneath the second vehicle. Captain Hayes ordered everyone around the bend. Isaiah lifted Halo once more, but the dog twisted just enough to face the truck. His nose worked rapidly. Then he turned toward the lead vehicle, parked farther ahead near the damaged road. A second growl formed in his chest. Isaiah stopped walking. What is it? Elena asked. Halo looked from the second vehicle to the lead vehicle, then toward Isaiah. The meaning came slowly and all at once. One source did not explain the scent at the motor pool, the black mud on multiple tires, or the line across the road. Isaiah keyed the radio. Captain Hayes, inspect visually from distance only. Check whether the same black residue appears beneath the lead vehicle. Silence followed. Rain hissed against the rock. Then her voice returned. Confirmed. Dark material near the rear axle. Danny looked toward Isaiah. There is more than one. Isaiah felt the truth settle over the convoy colder than the weather. The damaged road had not been an isolated hazard. The vehicles themselves had carried part of the danger, placed carefully enough to remain unnoticed during routine checks. Halo had smelled it before departure. He had followed it through the rain. He had jumped because stopping one truck was the only way to stop them all. Captain Hayes changed the evacuation route immediately, directing everyone up a narrow service trail that climbed away from the road. Isaiah handed Halo to Elena for only a moment while he helped Danny guide 2 younger Marines through the fog. No one returned for equipment. No one argued about the vehicles. The mission had changed. Supplies no longer mattered. Schedules no longer mattered. Only distance. Only lives. When Isaiah took Halo back, the dog rested his head against Isaiah's shoulder for the first time that morning. The tension in his body eased, but his eyes remained open. You can stand down now, Isaiah whispered. We heard you. Behind them, the convoy disappeared around the bend. 3 silent vehicles left beneath the rain. Ahead, the Marines climbed toward higher ground in a single line. Isaiah moved with them, carrying the dog who had refused to let obedience become a grave mistake. For years, Isaiah had believed redemption would arrive as a chance to make a better decision than the one he made with Malcolm. He had imagined a dramatic moment, a command, a clear choice. Instead, it came quietly, in the form of white fur against his uniform and a warning no machine had understood. Halo's breathing slowed near his ear. Isaiah touched Malcolm's old dog tag beneath his jacket and felt, for the first time in years, that the metal was no longer pulling him backward. The service trail climbed for nearly half a mile before opening onto a narrow ridge above the road. Captain Hayes counted every Marine twice before allowing anyone to stop moving. Rain had softened to a cold mist, but the wind remained sharp enough to cut through wet uniforms. Below them, the convoy sat motionless beneath the pines, three dark shapes separated by fog and broken pavement. No one spoke about how close they had come to continuing forward. No one needed to. Isaiah lowered Halo onto a dry patch beneath an overhanging rock, while Elena wrapped the dog's front leg with a firm support bandage. Halo watched her hands, but did not resist. His breathing was calmer now, and the tension had finally begun to leave his shoulders. Isaiah stayed beside him, one palm resting against the thick, white fur at his neck. Danny sat several feet away with his back against a tree, staring toward the road as if his mind had not yet caught up with his body. Captain Hayes moved between the Marines, checking radios and arranging a wider perimeter along the ridge. The emergency response team reached them 40 minutes later from the opposite side of the mountain, using an old fire road that had not been marked on the convoy map. They arrived without sirens, moving quietly through the mist in two specialized vehicles. Their leader, a calm civilian technician named Aaron Pike, listened as Isaiah described every detail from the motor pool to Halo's final alert beneath the second truck. Aaron asked the same question twice. He reacted before departure? Isaiah nodded. At the rear tires. Then again near the man in the orange rain jacket. Aaron looked toward the road below. That matters. The team spent the next several hours working from a distance, using cameras, long-range tools, and careful visual inspection. The Marines remained on the ridge while daylight faded behind the clouds. No one returned to the vehicles. No one tried to recover supplies. The mountain seemed to grow quieter as evening approached. Halo slept for short stretches, then opened his eyes each time Isaiah shifted position. Near sunset, Aaron climbed back to the ridge. Rain had darkened his jacket, and mud covered his boots. He spoke first to Captain Hayes, then turned toward Isaiah. Your dog was right from the beginning. Isaiah glanced down at Halo. What did you find? Modified signaling units attached beneath two vehicles. Low power. Concealed beneath road mud. We also found matching residue near the damaged section ahead. Aaron chose his next words carefully. The system appears designed to create a chain reaction if the convoy reached that curve in formation. Danny looked up from the tree. So the road was only part of it. Yes. Aaron nodded toward Halo. He likely detected the same chemical trace at the base, then followed it the entire route. When the vehicles approached the trigger area, he acted. Captain Hayes folded her arms against the cold. Could he have known the exact moment? Not the way a person knows time, Aaron said. But he knew the scent was stronger. He knew the environment had changed. Dogs notice patterns we ignore. Isaiah looked toward the mountain road. The answer was almost simple enough to hurt. Halo had given them warning after warning. At the tire. At the gate. In the truck. On the mountain. Each signal had been quiet until quiet was no longer enough. The maintenance worker, Isaiah said. Aaron's expression tightened. Base security is reviewing footage. The van was located abandoned several miles south. That part is still under investigation. Isaiah did not ask for more. The story did not need an enemy yet. It needed the truth. Halo had saved them because he trusted what he sensed more than he feared being misunderstood. Captain Hayes knelt beside the dog. For most of the day, her voice had carried command. Now it softened. I should have listened sooner. Halo raised his head and studied her. Then, without ceremony, he placed one paw against the ground between them. Captain Hayes smiled faintly. I will take that as forgiveness. Night settled over the ridge before transport arrived to take the Marines back to base. Isaiah carried Halo into the rear of the medical vehicle despite the dog's attempt to walk on his own. Elena sat across from them, monitoring the bandage while Danny rode. Near the door, the road home followed a longer route through the foothills, far from the damaged pass. Inside the vehicle, the lights were low and the engine hummed with a steady warmth. Halo rested his head on Isaiah's thigh. Isaiah reached beneath his uniform and removed Malcolm's old dog tag from the chain. He held it for a long moment, feeling the worn edges against his fingers. Then he threaded it carefully through a small loop on Halo's harness. Elena watched, but said nothing. Danny looked away, giving the moment privacy. He used to tell me to trust the one who went quiet, Isaiah said. Halo opened his eyes at the sound of his voice. Isaiah touched the tag now resting against the dog's white chest. I think he would have liked you. The metal moved gently with Halo's breathing. For years, Isaiah had carried Malcolm's memory like a sentence. That night, it felt more like a promise finally kept. Halo had not erased the past. He had given it somewhere peaceful to rest. Outside, rain faded from the windows, and the dark hills opened toward the distant lights of the base. Isaiah leaned back against the seat and closed his eyes. Halo stayed awake a little longer, listening to the road, until there was nothing left to warn them about.